This summer, our state experienced its worst wildfires in 65 years. The Washington National Guard reacted quickly to the Department of Natural Resources' request for help with Firestorm 94. George Flanagan, incident commander for the DNR, explains how the Guard became involved.
We had exhausted all the professional firefighting forces in the western states that were available to us, and the fires were still outstripping our ability to cope with them with those resources. So it was obvious that we asked the Guard to come and help.
Almost 1,000 soldiers received 2.5 days of instruction at the Yakima Training Center. The crash course in firefighting includes instruction on digging trails around a fire to stop it from spreading. The classes are taught by experienced firefighters. Although many topics are covered, Walt Pulliam, a field forester for the DNR, says that safety is the most important subject.
Remain safe while they're out there doing this particular job. A hurt firefighter isn't going to get the fire out. They're going to be able to go out there and do the work. We want to be able to make sure they come back after they get the work done.
The fire shelter training teaches soldiers how to survive if they're overcome by flames. Each firefighter carries a shelter at all times. After completing the training and arriving at a base camp, the Guard soldiers receive a briefing on their mission. Then they're sent to the fire line to use their new skills. Working together is an important aspect of firefighting, as the mountain terrain makes work difficult. When one soldier operates a shovel and the other uses a water hose, the teamwork makes the firefighting efficient. Helicopters work in teams delivering water to hotspots. They keep in touch with firefighters by way of radios to locate areas which need large amounts of water. The fires spread quickly near many towns in Washington. Communities affected by the fires appreciate the Guard's help. Some homes and other property burned quickly. Dick and Cece Landis say they felt safe and protected by the troops.
First time I had a real interchange with the Guardsman, he very politely told me I needed a permit, and he wrote up the permit for me, and so I could get in. And what he was doing was basically protecting our property by limiting the people who had access up here, because it had some burglaries. I mean,
the base camp is equally important as the firefighting. The camp soldiers provide logistical support to sustain the mission. Everyone must be fed. It's a big job serving 3 meals a day to the whole camp. The cooperation between DNR and Guard personnel made the field kitchen a success. Maintenance is another important aspect of the base camp operation. The mechanics work hard to keep the vehicles in safe running condition, while the refuelers keep them going down the road. Many troops are enthusiastic about the firefighting mission. Larry Kosha, a combat engineer with the 898th, says he's glad to help, but is anxious to get home.
Okay. Do you have any kind of message you want to send to anybody back home?
Yes, my future wife, Nicole Dorman, and her wonderful daughter, Courtney. I love you and I miss you, and I can't wait to get home.
Well, it is, after all, almost July, so here comes the heat. We are expecting near record temperatures right here in western Washington this weekend.
In California, high temperatures are fueling dry conditions for hundreds of wildfires. Now, National Guard firefighters from our state are headed to California to help. As King 5's Roberta Romero reports, a Chinook helicopter and its crew left Fort Lewis this morning with a send-off from Governor Gregoire.
A firefighter crew from the Washington State National Guard has just left for California in a Chinook helicopter, much like the one you see behind me. That Chinook helicopter is headed to California to help provide relief for the firefighters there who've been battling blazes for the last several days. The state has asked for help, and Christine Gregoire deployed the Washington State National Guard to the area to help them after hearing that cry. The Chinook helicopter took off early this morning. Its 5-member team will be a welcome relief to firefighters in California. Before taking off, crew members loaded up. They will be fighting fires for at least the next week. California is in a crisis situation with 5 major blazes and hundreds of other wildfires to put out. After hearing of their need, the Washington National Guard was deployed by Governor Christine Gregoire. She came to Fort Lewis to see the crew off and wish them luck. The 5-man team explained what they will be doing once they arrive in California.
They have what's called a daisy chain, where each helicopter goes in, they land, they fill up their water bucket, and they have so much, you have a limited amount of time because you want to keep the chain going. So you go in there, you get in there quick, you get out,
But these folks are going into dangerous conditions, and they're going to be doing very difficult work. But as they said to me in the briefing in there, that's what we do. That's what we're here to do. That's what we're trained to do, and we're ready to serve. So again, we're very fortunate to have these folks.
Most of the fires in California were started by lightning strikes, and yes, lightning storms are expected this weekend. The Washington State National Guard is expected to arrive in California around 3 this afternoon. They will then be deployed to those areas where they're needed most. At Fort Lewis, Roberta Romero, King 5 News.
More than 1,000 wildfires are burning in California right now. One of those fires is still threatening the coastal community of Big Sur and has forced authorities to close part of the Pacific Coast Highway. Authorities believe most of the fires were sparked by lightning.
From a distance, the Wenatchee area wildfires in eastern Washington look terrible. From up close, they're downright hazardous. That's why the state governor tasked Washington National Guard helicopters and crews to help stop what Forest Service officials are calling one of the worst fires they've seen in the Pacific Northwest. Moreover, it's the second time guardsmen have been activated this summer. Twice in a season is unprecedented, according to First Lieutenant Robillard.
Sounds like 2004 was the last big fire that they called us in on. Before that, 2001 and then 1994. So there's a 6 to 8 year spread between these fires generally. So this is not something that we do every day.
The guardsmen and their 2 helicopters, a Chinook and a Blackhawk, work alongside federal and state officials, as well as private contractors, to deliver 600 to 2,000 gallon buckets of desperately needed water to support ground-based fire crews combating the blazes. However, the straightforward task of dropping as much water as possible on a 39,000-acre inferno turns out to be easier said than done. Oddly enough, patience is a virtue when it comes to battling wildfires.
There's a lot of things that need to be in place before we just put aircraft into the sky. There has to be an air attack platform up there in a helicopter or a fixed wing, scouting out the situation first and seeing what the strategy is going to be and the tactics and making up a plan, and then we have to have communications in place and the radios get complicated, and so there's a whole bunch of things that need to be planned out before you just jump in and go. I just got the word now, so I'm getting ready to walk out there and let them know about it.
After a few hours of waiting for the reconnaissance flights to take off and return, the guardsmen finally received the day's mission. From that point, a whole new set of complications arise.
It's kind of a controlled chaos when you're at the dip and you're getting the water out of whatever water source you're using. You don't want your bucket when it's in the water to act as an anchor point, because then you have a huge anchor underneath your aircraft. En route to the flames, you have other aircraft coming and going the other direction, so you have to watch out for other traffic. Then when you're at the fire, you don't want to drop the water too high so it's ineffective. You want to drop it low enough that it actually gets to where you're trying to drop it. But you also have to watch your altitude. You have to make sure that you have enough power, because a lot of the times they're dropping on these canyon walls. You have winds to contend with, so honestly the entire thing requires a lot of technical proficiency.
Meanwhile, the operation is in continuous flux.
Yesterday was Lake Wenatchee. Sunday I was dipping out of Lake Chelan. Saturday I was dipping out of the Wenatchee River in a small hole where we could actually get the bucket submerged. So each time is going to be different. And then even yesterday we had a nice rhythm going, but at any point that wind could shift. And now instead of the nice pattern we had, we may have to adjust the pattern.
The bucket's underneath the aircraft, the water bucket. We can't see that as pilots, and so we'll fly over the target area, and at some point we lose sight of the target. And at that point the crew chief will start giving us directions and corrections to our line. And then the crew chief is the person that actually pushes the button to drop the water. The water, the sides sort of expand, so you got 600 gallons of water there, and when the crew chief pushes the button, the bottom just falls out. It just completely opens up, and so all 660 gallons just comes out at once. This is the center point of the aircraft, so we want all the weight centered right below the aircraft as we fly. If there was an emergency, if it got stuck in the trees or something bad, we lost an engine or something and couldn't get rid of the water, we could punch off the water bucket right here.
Typically, a firefighting mission lasts 2 hours before the aircraft must refuel. The Chinook appears out of the smoke in only 20 minutes. A bad sign.
Our bucket?
Okay.
It's not closing right, so we came back to get it fixed. Actually, yeah, this is the closest open field to where we're at right now. So they're doing a quick check to make sure that they can't repair it, and then if we can't, we have another bucket, we'll replace it. So hopefully we'll be back in the air in about 20 minutes.
You can see by on the gate there, you can see there's a huge gap on top, and there's nothing on the bottom, so there's something.
There's something kinked in there.
That thing just sits down there, right where it was.
Unable to fix the bucket, they attach the spare and hope to receive permission to fight the fire independently while the other helicopters refuel. But that plan is nixed too because the smoke has thickened, making it unsafe to fly. Soon, the blazing sun is too low on the horizon to allow another mission. The crews are grounded, their disappointment palpable.
We appreciate these guys are, being patient with us, and then all of a sudden it's hurry up and go, and they're ready to go.
This is a very different mission than a combat role when we go federal into a federal status, and we're overseas. Then we're in the big army, so to speak, and a very different mission set. But from our standpoint, this is really a true Guard mission. And that's just helping our fellow neighbors, when things are rough. So it's good.